in two. And just kidding, we are live. Happy Friday, happy Friday. It is so wonderful to see everyone's beautiful faces. Again, I always assume that I'm seeing your faces because I can sense your energy. I can sense your radiance. I can sense your style, I guess, through the screen. And if nothing else, I always have my co-host and a wonderful guest to sense all of that energy through as well. Hello, every beautiful body. My name is Blair G. Hervey. I am the founder and CEO of The Corporate Strategist. I'm joined by my colorful co-host, my bestie, my soul friend of 20 plus years, the corporate strategist, independent consultant, DEIBA speaker, self-proclaimed diversity geek, and apparently Juneteenth speaker, D'Angelo Crane. Hi.
Hey, B, triple B. Today's triple B stands for Big Boss Bookseller. Bam, because you got your book out. Hello, somebody. You know I'm ready for you. The other thing I was going to say is, hey, Rochelle, to my Chris. Do you know who that is? I know. You usually get it. Rochelle is the mama of Everybody Hates Chris. So yes, that's what I'm thinking of today.
Wait, time out. So I'm the mama to your. No, I don't like that one.
No,
Rochelle loves Chris.
They had a great friendship. They had a great But anyhow, since we're talking about the Black family today, I want to honor that with Black families. Anyhow, but so excited to be here with you all again. Another day here on the Black Diva Collective stage. I'm always delighted to bring my love, light, and laughter to this place and this presence. And we have a really cool guest today, so I'm super excited about the conversation. I feel like we're gonna be on the couch. Remember, on the couch, on the sofa. On the sofa. That's why I feel like we're gonna be on. So I'm just gonna relax and lay back. I probably should have brought a drink with me today to be real cool.
Good. I'm glad you are super excited. Yes, let's extend a very big welcome to our guest, Blaine G. Harris Jr. We are very excited to have you, sir.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Well, welcome everyone to the Black Diva Collective Live. Before we get into who our special guest is, I'm sure y'all can make some guesses with the Blaine and Blair reference. D'Angelo, you want to get us into our sunny little segment?
That's what I was going to ask. I was like, why do y'all have the same Blaine and Blair? I want to know that, but I'm sure you're going to tell us in a minute. Yes, so every day here on the Black Diva Collective, we do something called the Art of the Check-In. And why do we do that? Because we want you as colleagues and especially as leaders and allies to really check in on your Black employees, friends, confidants each and every day. We want you to do it a little differently. We don't want you just to say, hey, Craig. We want you to stop and have a more meaningful, long-term conversation. And not just walk past Hakeem. Stop and ask Hakeem, how's his day going? What's going on in his life? And how can you be of assistance to make his day brighter, if that anything? And the way we do that here on the Black Diva Collective is by saying, Blaine, how's your heart? How's your mind? How's your soul today? I can do it with my hands. Because it's so like
my soul is great, my heart is great, and my mind is focused right now. I'm in a great place spiritually, emotionally. I'm balanced. That's how I like to say.
Ooh, I like that. I need to be where you are. I don't know what that balance. Okay. He said he's balanced. He's all zen. I feel like I need to bring it down a little bit because he's like zen right now. I feel like I need to be like so.
You need some plants. You gotta get the plants, dude. That's what it is.
I still down. I see you got yours.
That's the hard work. You see it's a little brown on some of them. I'm trying to keep them together.
Blair, how's your mind? How's your soul? How's your heart today?
Oh, I'm super fantastic for a plethora of different reasons. But I made a cookie butter latte. Shout out to TikTok. And it's vegan. So I'm very pleased. You know, I got my little pigtails, new hairstyle today. I've got this wonderful, wonderful, exciting guest on today. You know, I'm radiant, the smiling. So all the things are great. How's your head? How's your heart, D'Angelo? How's your soul?
I'm just laughing at you and your TikTok thing. It's like literally every day you got a new TikTok situation. It's either, literally you are TikTok indoctrined right now. You're the biggest
TikTok
fan.
Is like the guide to life, right?
The biggest user of TikTok. I am fantastic. I just got off from talking to an organization called Thumbtack. You may know it. And talking as part of their Juneteenth celebration. Their business resource group, Noble Tax, brought me in to just talk about Juneteenth and the importance of it. So I'm still on high. I literally stepped off that virtual stage, and came to this virtual stage. So I'm still on high. Anytime I can share about our experiences as Black Americans, I'm always just excited about that. So yeah, so I'm in good spirits right now.
I love it. Well, let's get right into this conversation. Welcome again, Blaine, and thank you for joining us for this valuable conversation. So
thank you.
You're welcome. For anyone who is not familiar, Blaine is my brother. I met this gentleman actually when I was 12 years old. And I've had the joy and the beauty of getting to grow with him and to love more and more things about him. But let me share a little bit about his background. Blaine G. Harris Jr. is a dynamic entrepreneur with a background in sales, computer engineering, audio, and entrepreneurship. Blaine's career journey began with a degree in computer engineering and audio. He developed a passion for technology and sound during his studies, which laid the foundation for his career and led to career exploration in finance, specifically trading, transportation, specifically trucking, and entrepreneurship. While he is achieving success in these fields, his more important or most important role and greatest joy is being a dedicated father of 3. So again, welcome, Blaine, and it's lovely seeing you.
Thank you. I appreciate the introduction.
No problem. You know, we do what we can do around here. So let's get right into it. Our first question is usually to DEI practitioners, and we have questions about, how they got into this work. Your path is a little bit different, right? Your story is a little bit different. I'm more curious to know what led you into technology. We can start there, and then if you ever noticed anything about being, young and Black in that space and being the only.
I think I've always been a bit of a geek, for lack of a better term. So when it comes to like computers and games, if it broke, I'm taking it apart and stuff like that. So it's always been, I guess, a passion of mine without me noticing it. Like when I was a kid, I have a computer, I'd be burning CDs or downloading programs and getting. There's always some kind of way. I've just always been a technical guy. So when my first degree. I actually was going for graphic creations in the beginning, but I spoke with the guy when I was there because again, I was just I was an artistic guy. I'm looking for things that I actually love. The audio engineering was because I had enjoyed a passion for music. So at the time I wanted to make mixtape covers. So I wanted to go for graphic design. I met a gentleman at the school when I did the orientation and he warned me to not take this student loan and waste it on something I can learn on YouTube. So that made me step back and actually look into what was important, actually like compensation and what careers actually got paid the best. That's where I chose computer engineering in the beginning. And the audio engineering was just more of a hobby, but also in the same field. So I started off, I worked for, I think, AT&T doing tech support, a couple of companies doing like IT work and networking. And that was my technology element of my career, and that came to make me want to be more entrepreneurship, like build a brand and go into things of that nature. Stop wanting to really work for someone, and that I've just been a journey going to the brand. I have a brand, Elevated Assassins. That's this here. You know me, I do a little bit of everything at this point. So that was the start. Technically, I'm always going to do something with a computer. I can't get away from it. It's just in my blood at this point. So that's the start from there.
Definitely a jack of all trades. I apologize to interrupt.
No, go ahead. I just was going to go on to the next.
I bet you were. Let's let D'Angelo go ahead and introduce the topic and get into the depth of the conversation.
Okay.
No, that's I love your trajectory as a young person who's doing so many different things and really understanding what you love and what you're passionate about and what your purpose, but you're still keeping that computer work as something that is core to who you are, and that's the way you are going to build your brand. So today we're talking about fatherhood, specifically Black fathers. Any fool can have a child. That doesn't make you a father. It's the courage to raise the child that makes you a father. Barack Obama. So today we're talking really about the trials, the triumphs, the challenges of being a Black father, especially in today's world when there are so many things that your children can watch and view and get into and can disrupt them. How do you how you balance demands of being an active, engaged father, also working and building your career, and also thinking about your own experiences of being Black and combating all the discrimination or the bias that you also are experiencing. So today we're going to really dig into that and talk with, I feel like you're my younger brother too, since you're his brother, right? Talk to our brother about this more. And so Blaine, one of the things that I'm noticing is that companies are really starting to provide paternity leave for male employees. I mean, more companies are getting involved in that, are extending their paternity leave. What more do you think companies need to do to support fathers in the workplace?
I think originally I didn't really have much thought on this, but after really looking deep into the question, it just makes a lot of sense. I think we're not looked at when you look at it from the bigger broad spectrum, like we're an asset to the family. Like you're paying, you give maternity leave, so they pay, they know their career is stable, they know they have income coming in, they're able to focus on what's important, their health, their stress level, making sure their bodies is on point. A lot of that has to do with the father, not having a man, the man that created this child next to him through that, just to walk them through the hospital, walk them to the, take them to the doctor's appointments, make sure they're fed, keep their feet up, to be able to sit back and actually know that your career is stable and your compensation is still coming in, and I can focus on what's important, this life that I created, that would be, you would feel appreciated. I think the world or America has made it very difficult for the man to feel, in a sense, for lack of a better term, equal with the woman. It's like she created this life, of course, she bears it, and I don't want to take anything away from that. But when it comes to actually fending for a family and making sure everything's done the right way, you need both. It takes two. So for me to once I really depth, went into depth on this question, it made me realize that that's something that we should be getting. It's almost like foolproof. Why wouldn't it? How would she move? How does she feed herself when she's walking around with this basketball in her belly? How does she get from the, how can, like you see them grocery shopping? There's so many things that is just not thought about when it comes from the male perspective. To be able to have me next to my child's mother while she's going through that would be, is just a peace of mind that I don't think we even realize that we need at times. Honestly, when I first seen that question, I was like, well, why would we need? Why would I need that? But then when I thought about it, I'm like, well, damn, we have to actually get that at this point. We're needed in the household, and if you look at the statistics, when a male is not in the household, things don't really go too well, honestly. So it's having me next to the mother of my child while she's sitting there swollen, feet swollen, needs some ice water or whatever it is, goes a long way. And having to make sure that we still bring that income is the main thing in most men when they're having a child. So being able to balance those two would be a great deal of help for our psyche alone.
Yeah. I'll piggyback on two things that I heard you say. So it sounds like you definitely agree with paternity. I think D'Angelo was also asking, like, what else do you think you need? And it sounded like you had to really dig deep. It's like, dang, I didn't even think I really needed anything. You know, I'm used to juggling all the things. But when I hear what you're saying, I also hear some elements of self-care. So I hope that there are other resources and other support systems, like Better Up, whether it's, you know, therapy and having somebody to talk to, or whether it's, I know you go to the gym, so whether it's like access to being able to take care of your own body, but other things. I think we can keep getting creative with those things aside from paternity leave, to think about what else fathers need during that time. And y'all, by all means, throw in the comments, you know, fathers out there, what else do you think fathers need when a new child is being introduced? And I heard what you said too. The second thing that you said, which I'm probably, some people who have grown up in a quote unquote fatherless household was like, ooh, wait a minute. But you said things don't turn out too well. I will say that things can be much more challenging, especially if you either are used to that or even in the absence of. So in my experience, I didn't grow up with our father, right? I didn't really get reintroduced to him until I was 12 years old when my mother passed away. And then unfortunately, you and I both experienced the passing of our father about 10 years ago. D'Angelo too has also experienced the passing of his father and the absence thereof, a healthy relationship. If you don't mind, we'd love for you to share a little bit more of how the absence of a father, because you talked about how that impacts us, has impacted you personally and your career journey.
I feel like for me personally, me understanding that I lacked a father after we lost our father was, I didn't really even start to feel that until I've become more of a man at this age. I felt like I've had them because most of my friends lacked what I've had. So I had the short term guidance that I had. I was able to take with me through life because I had them for a period of time. Most of my friends didn't have that at all. So it's something simple as morals as a man. It just changes the way you look at life, and being able to stand up and actually have integrity and things like that. That it's how you handle confrontation, how you have a conversation, being able to not be emotional when something's going the wrong way. It's a lot of things that a man instills in you that it's difficult to get if you don't have it. Honestly, at this age, me growing and becoming a man without him, it's a lot of things that I went through that it's just difficult to deal with. Having questions about going through life, am I making the right decisions? Dealing with something like having like I had children out of wedlock, and not just, you have questions once you become of age, and it's not really people that will understand you like the man you came from. So it's, as a man, you'll seek things that you may not feel like you need though in the beginning, but as you grow older, you'll have questions for this one person that you can't get anywhere else because you were made from, you was created from this. I am who my father was in a sense. Without, I could have never met him a day in my life. It's just hereditary. So not having that is it's difficult to deal with when you're going through real life decisions. Having a conversation with my son about things, we need to be able to ask my father how should I portray this and things like that. It's just it can definitely be a headache. But having him from the time period that I did have him definitely put me in a I feel like an upper hand compared to those that I know, because most men that I grew up with don't have the fathers that I have.
Mm. So, well, it's well said. Thank you for sharing that. Dee, I know you're about to hop in there, but I also want to just ask really quickly, how has that impacted your career journey?
Not having him, I think it would impact it with less clarity. Me being able to keep chasing, and not feel like this is I don't feel content. So not having him, it's more or less me feeling like nothing I'm doing is ever good enough. It's like, well, he want me to go hard. I need to do this. Yeah, I need to do more. So it's, instead of being able to ask him a question, him tell me something like relax, I don't get that. So it's me almost mimicking what I feel like he would say, and that's extremely difficult for a man, honestly. But it's the clarity, really. It's from a man, having a man tell you, yeah, you're on the right track, or that's life. You deal with that, it goes a long way, especially when you respect who that man is and what he's done. So the lack of that, it just you question a lot of things, and you can make some decisions that you may not have made if you had that guidance. You know what I'm saying? It's just kind of head turning.
I feel you. Thank you for that vulnerability. I really
No
appreciate
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah, I can understand lots of the sentiments you said. And I also want to say that I think what I've learned is that for me, it's been less about having a father, but about do I have healthy male role models in my life? I mean, my father was not, we didn't have a very healthy relationship. And I'll share a little bit about that in a minute. But I remember the other men that my mother dated after my father and how they really brought joy into my life, right? And so I think about even for those couples who are in same-sex couples, right, and women who are in that, it's just having that male perspective and those male role models around your child, how helpful that is in their growth and development, right? And so just really, like I said, about those healthy relationships that we need to have. And I think about my own father. It wasn't until probably when I went to therapy 2 years ago, and the therapist asked me, "How did you feel about your father?" And I broke down crying and I said, sorrow, because I never understood what was his story and what he went through in life that had him to start drinking at the age of 13 and leave home, right? So I don't know what happened to him before then, right? And I never asked those questions. I wish I had, but there probably was some acute things that happened that made his trajectory of his life change. And so bringing that question to you, Blaine, is that what are some pressures that Black fathers have that other fathers don't, white fathers or non-Black fathers, right? They don't have to think about or worry about or experience.
I feel like the main pressure is just the elephant in the room. Is having the fear for your life as a black man in America is very difficult to deal with your child being pulled over with your children and having the fear for your life is extremely difficult to deal with. To explain to a child that how powerful he is because of the melanin in his skin, but then in the same breath have to explain to him that people are fearful and people may hate you because of it is very extremely difficult. To be in the grocery store with your children and they're saying hi and they just want to speak and people react with racism is it's extremely difficult to raise a man to be a man and understand it, in a sense explaining to him that things are the way they are without telling him that that it's okay. It's very difficult to explain to a child that I have to deal with this accordingly, but it's not okay.
Mm-hmm.
And that's extreme, and it's because the color of my skin, something that a child never understands at this point in their life. So it's those pressures I feel like is the main thing. Honestly, is just being black, and the attack on black men in America is very difficult to deal with as a man because we're perceived by how we look. Like my hair can make a man fearful while we're walking down the sidewalk. I was with my child at the grocery store yesterday, and when we walk in, a man grabs his child and moves to the side, and it's difficult to deal with in a sense, but it's just what we got to do. This black being here, but it's definitely a difference. It's definitely a pressure because it's one thing when you're dealing with that type of stuff when you're alone, but when you have your child, it's like you want to shelter them from ever experiencing this at all, and it's just something that you can't do.
Yeah. That was well said. My goodness, I felt that all in my spirit. This was not on the list of questions. I'm not gonna throw you off too badly, but
Good.
just to piggyback off of what D'Angelo is saying, thinking about fathers of multicultural children, right? I think we started to talk about it a little bit yesterday. It could be different as well because you spoke of melanin, but we know one of those three of my nephews. His skin tone is a lot fairer than his brothers, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm curious to know how do you show up differently as a Black father to multicultural children, or is there a difference?
Me personally, I don't show up differently. I speak to him like he's a Black man. I let him know, but it's the understanding. Where it's difficult for me is to explain the history of this country, and then he looks at his mom. You know what I'm saying? It's like, well, no, everybody's not. So that becomes difficult. But like you said, my third son, Brave, he's fair skinned. He came to me last week and he said, I'm a white man. I said, no, you're not. And his brother's like, no, you're a Black man. So we had to explain how, and he didn't get it until I just pulled a piece of paper up and I said, baby, this is white. And I put it next to his arm. And I said, are you white? And he looked and he said, no, I'm not. So I mean, it's difficult in a sense, but I feel like it's more difficult when you're trying to explain the history of this country and not to attack his mother or his grandfather or his family, when you just really trying to tell him the truth to try to prepare him for what's to come. But as far as me teaching them any different, I speak to them like they're Black men. I'm fair skinned, so it's just it's understanding that we're plants. You feel me? We're like fruit. Every orange in the bunch ain't the same color. It's just not how that works. So with me personally, I stand tall with it. It just I let them know that skin color don't mean anything. Your father's a Black man, you're a Black man. Your grandfather's a Black man, his grandfather was a Black man. It's just what it is. You're a white man also in a sense, but not in a sense. You are a white man also, so that's your culture. You embrace that, but I don't know how to teach you to embrace that side of your culture. All I can teach you is what I know and what I can experience. So I just try to do it without being biased and not try to attack, I guess, the other side of his race in a sense. But it's just more or less being open. I'm an open book with my children. Yeah. That's just, and that might be part of that is me losing my father there early. Is I don't really had anything from him. The way I was taught, what he instilled in me, I give it to him right now, early, just in case. So it's difficult, but it's mandatory.
Oh, I like that. It's difficult, but it's mandatory. D'Angelo, we're definitely gonna have a conversation about colorism, and we haven't had a conversation about biracial relationships and the intersectionality there. I think that's something to add to the list. But thank you, Blaine, and we really appreciate that.
No problem.
Yeah, I do appreciate your vulnerability on that. I think it's such a layered conversation, right? We don't want to deny, and maybe they want to show up differently in life, right? But you're right. Life does put them in a box of you are Black because your skin is darker than whatever skin tone, right? So I think there's lots of layered conversation, and I think the world is continuing to change and allowing people to definitely exist in both of those spaces, right? And so, but we've got a lot of continued work to do. So, and I love the fact that you just said, here's where I understand the world from. So that's all I can give to you, son, right? And so that's a very honest and vulnerable statement. So thanks for sharing that. So you touched on it a little bit. So maybe you can just dig in. Just what's the best advice your father gave you that has helped you continue to be a really effective father?
That the relationship between father and son is sacred. That there's no man you can meet that will look. I told you not to cry. I'm gonna drop a tear.
Listen, I'm looking at this picture.
Yeah. You'll never meet a man that got you like your father. You'll never meet a man that's opinion is as pure as your father. You'll never meet it just won't happen. The relationship between father and son is sacred. You feel me? It's and it's just understanding life as a man is very extremely difficult without your father. So having that and him giving me that guidance, I'm the best father in the world, and I only had him not even half my life. You know what I'm saying? So it's the importance of having that. I'm a walking testament of it. That's just what it is.
You know what? See, this is unacceptable. I knew this, and I told you this was gonna happen. But you hit it first. But you know what? It's a beautiful thing because of the relationship that you have with our father. I am able to experience that relationship, although he and I didn't see eye to eye on a lot of things, right? I get to
Mhm.
experience the beauty of Black fatherhood through you, and because you've made me auntie and auntie B, I can explore that through my nephews and see that with the relationship you have with my son as well. So it's a beautiful thing. I would love to ask you too, as we're in the spirit of this, what traits do you feel like you've really developed as a father that have impacted you and how you show up, not only in the world, but specifically in work?
That's a great question. I feel like being able to adapt to any situation, being able to understand that the most important thing is how they feel and not how I feel. I remember when my first son was born, in my head, it was, I just need to make the most money I could make. I would go wherever I could do to make the most money I could make, and I would be away from him. And he just doesn't like that. Understanding that what's important to them is being available and being here and having those conversations and stuff like that. I think the traits that I took from my father is understanding his son, being able to get him to understand me, being vulnerable with him. I think one of the things, not to go back, but one of the things he taught me is being able to understand that you make mistakes and hold yourself accountable. Like your relationship with our father, like you said, is different than ours, but my understanding on how he felt and about the mistakes he made in that situation between you and him helped me grow and be a better father. To understand how to, you feel me, just be a man even when you mess up. It's just sometimes you got to know I screwed up, and it is here's what we can do from here to fix it, and that's and understand everything won't be perfect. As a father, you will make mistakes and
Mhm.
you will drop the ball, but you got to pick it up and keep rolling with it. So with my career, and that is just learning to understand that it's about them and not about what I want and how I view it. So it's, I might have a certain depiction on what my life's supposed to look like or what I'm supposed to be doing, but Tuesdays and Thursdays, I gotta see them boys, and if I can't see them on Tuesdays and Thursdays, it's an issue with them. They don't care if I can buy them some toys. They want to make sure that I'm seeing you as much as I need to be seeing you. So that element, being able to flow with the wind, as you know, my career choice goes from here to here, or I'll let a job go at the drop of a dime when it comes to me seeing my boys. I make sure that I stand before God and I pray. I'm a praying man, and I make sure that they're first, and everything else will just work itself out. Honestly, that's how I feel, and that's how it's been working. Honestly,
We said yesterday, parenting doesn't pause while you're pursuing your passion, right? And then on the flip side, you in pursuit of your passion shouldn't pause because you're parenting.
Mhm.
So I know that you are a demonstration of that and how difficult but necessary it is as well. So we need to put both of those on t-shirts.
I guess.
I think one of the things I took away from your conversation, and I kind of have lived my life by, is that we need to, and what helped free me from being angry at my father from our relationship, is that giving them grace and understanding we were working with what our parents were working with the best that they had from what they knew, and we were doing the same thing, right? As uncles, as whatever I am, I don't have any kids. But we are doing, you two are parents, are doing the best you can with what you have and what you know. We have to give ourselves grace for that and continue to strive to do better, but also understanding this is we're working with what we have. And that is such, I think, a moment of freedom when you understand that about your own journey as an individual, because you're an individual before you're a parent, right?
Mm,
You're blurring blame
definitely.
before you're a parent. Being a parent is just another layer of identity, and you're having to think about all these different identities and dimensions about yourself and pulling them all together. So I can only imagine how that can be in conflict sometimes with one another. But I
Hmm.
appreciate you all for showing up each and every day and
Yeah,
raising
I
beautiful
appreciate
Black
that.
sons and daughters. Yeah,
I
yeah.
appreciate that. It's difficult in a sense, but it's like you said, you hit the nail on the head. They could do what they could from what they had. They would learn what they had, and they did what they could. So, like you said, giving our parents grace, I held my father accountable in ways that I maybe shouldn't have, because I felt like he could do a lot more. So, with that, and
Same.
understanding that, well, he came from a working till you dead family, and you go to school and family, so it's what you had. But I feel like that in a sense affected my career choice more than anything, because I know the information that I grew up with and the information that I was given was only what they had. So my main goal in life is to soak up as much, for lack of a better term, game that I could have for these kids. And when they're my age, they'll know way more than I could have imagined. So that's really what it is about. I'll jump into any field and jump into anything and learn any information about anything just because I can tell my boys. So it's like she said, not letting your passion stop while you parenting. I'll just include them in it. If I'm trading, here, come sit here and look at what I'm doing. If I'm making shirts, come here, sit here, look at what I'm doing. It's a business. I remember a year and a half ago, my son was mad I was going to work, and it might have been 2 years ago. And I told him, well, you're gonna have to work. And then maybe 6 months later, once I started really investing, I had to go back and apologize to him, like, you don't have to work if you don't want to work. You can invest and you can build and you can grow your business. You don't have to be a 9 to 5. So just being able to grow and give them the information so they can grow with us. That's the main thing, is understanding what we had and what we was given and how easy we can go get it now.
I love it. Goodness gracious. Well, you dropped some gems today. I knew you would. I'll just say this last thing too, because I know we're a little bit over time. But one of the things that I definitely learned from you as a father and from our father and watching y'all's relationship is the power in saying, I love you. D'Angelo, Blaine, we can get off the phone 12 times a day. Blaine says, I love you every single time. We text, I love you a million times a day. I've never seen that or never had experienced that until I met this man when I was 12 years old. So I'm grateful to you and to our father for that. All right,
Blaine, I love that. Blaine, I love that. I actually do that with my male friends too. My brother, who I call my brothers, I do the same, and my sisters as well. But yeah, no, that's so important. I love that. You close out the show because we're over. Go for it.
It's mandatory. It's mandatory. Understand, especially when you're a Black man, understanding that when I walk out this door, I may not walk back in it. So those that I love need to know that. Or you may feel that I've said something the wrong way. I need to remind you I love you. We may have had a difference and the day went by and we weren't really talking. Let me let you know at the end of the day I love you. If you love somebody expressing it, you might not have had a chance to.
True.
Well said. Well, thank you. And we've all experienced that as well. Sorry, there's a dumpster going by, but I do appreciate the time and energy that you put in the dedication and preparing for today's show. I know that this is not your usual platform. So thank you again, Blaine. We appreciate you. Shout out to every Black father out there. We know that there is a narrative that says that Black fathers aren't present. They aren't this, they aren't that. But we know that there are Black fathers and Black men that are breaking the mold every single day. We appreciate you. We appreciate every father out there who create space not only for their sons to grow, but for their daughters and for their children to be themselves. We love each and every one of you all, and we appreciate your dedication to our show every weekday at 12 p.m. Pacific time, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you for joining us for a daily dose of D&B with D&B on the Daily Black DEIBA. All right, y'all. Happy Friday.
Yes, thank you both for having me.